All right. Well, hello, everybody. It is great to be back together again. I love the flexibility of this group. I hope you enjoyed your week off last week and are ready to dive right into our next topic around BPM and process improvement organizations, PIOs. Specifically, what we're going to focus on today is some of the key skills in governance structure that really are important to put into play in your organization. Quite frankly, this is an area that often is overlooked. It's one of those spots that tends to be quite exciting to jump right on into process mapping and capturing the processes, the thrill of the hunt, if you will, wanting to document what we're working on and kind of bring it all together in a way that can be shared. But it's in the context of stepping back and thinking about the skills that are important for us to have, really to bring to bear, right? And the kind of roles and responsibilities, if you will, in the context also of governance for our PIO, for our process improvement organization, and specifically around the PIO, looking at how that relates to our business process management program. So what we're going to dive into are those two components. These are critical for sustainability. Think about it from that standpoint, truly, where we can sustain our momentum and really make our changes and the things that we're shifting, make them long-term and deep value add to the organization. So let's take a quick look. Our topics today, we're going to dig into understanding what skills are needed and also looking at it from the framework, within the organization and the leadership organization, the leadership of the organization, okay? So if you're new to joining us on one of our SNAP webinars, as you know, our sessions they're quick. That's why we call them SNAP webinars. These sessions are intended to be deep dives into specific topic areas. We generally run about 20 to 30 minutes at most. And so let's take a look at how that flows if this is new for you. Our intention, a little bit of an introduction, as I mentioned, what our topic is today. My name is Diana Willis. I am the CEO and founder of the Pendolino Group, incredibly passionate in the world of process and process management and business processes, operational processes, human resources, those aspects that I think really make a business thrive and sing, if you will. Okay, so that's a little bit about me. We're going to dive into some specific areas. We tend to run along the themes of continuous improvement and business process management. So we'll look at a couple of best practice tips today. I'm going to actually give you some profiles of the different roles that are important for you to have for your process improvement organization, for your PIO. And even if you don't have a large group of people, but you're really putting in place a BPM program for your team or for your organization, you want to make sure that you have these roles being taken care of by somebody in your organization or multiple people in your organization. In other words, the work is getting done by someone in your organization. You're not just simply glossing over it. We will open up for a quick live forum then, just to see if we have any questions that have come up along the way. And I'll share, of course, my contact information as well, so you can always shoot me an email. I do my best to loop back around within 24 to 48 hours, unless I have a radical travel plan that's underway. Okay, so let's dive right in. All right, so here's where we are. From this standpoint, I'm going to be just asking a few questions, kind of prompting our thinking here, and then we're going to dive into the roles and the skills that we look for effective PIOs and for effective governance for your organization. So I just want to kind of prime our thinking from the standpoint of why governance matters for a successful process improvement organization or successful process improvement as a culture. And, so when we think about why does governance really matter, and given that what the evidence shows is that it's something that is very often overlooked, it is seen as, we just don't have the time or the desire to spend the time. It's not as sexy as you, if you will, in terms of building a new program, roll it out, and then let's go on to the next shiny thing. Let's talk about, why does governance matter? So, first of all, the intention behind governance really is to ensure that we have long-term sustainability and that we build something that is designed to last and really continue to guide the organization. And the way that that governance operates is that it provides for us a strong decision-making framework. So we have a structure in place. We know how decisions are going to get made, and we're able to stay in alignment as a result. Governance also provides or helps to outline what the relationships are between internal and external groups involved. So again, clarity of roles. You may recall in one of our prior sessions, we talked about the importance of having extremely clear role identification. So who is doing what, for example. Governance also helps to describe what the appropriate flow of information is. So how will information come into the organization? How will it get distilled and disseminated? What are some of the important criteria around that? So governance helps to frame that for us as well. And it also ensures that we review our processes in the world of PI, that we review our processes and our performance overall, that we're doing that on a regular basis. So you get the strong sense of accountability and integrity. So when we take the time to just lay in, what does our governance structure look like and who is doing what, in particular around the realm of our PI, what this does is it gives us such a nice, a calming effect, if you will, that we can count on. And so we've got a methodology in place. Now, does that mean that emergencies don't come up or fires don't get started that we need to go dress? No, of course. Those things always happen. What it does mean is that 80% of the time we have a framework, a cadence, a flow that we can count on, and people know what their role is in that, and we methodically go through things, and we're tracking ourselves. So from that standpoint, we can also count on governance to ensure that we've got appropriate review of issues that come up, and we know when to escalate or when not to escalate. We know when processes are working, are repeatable or replicatable. We know when they're not, and we have a clear structure around which then we deal with those things. Just quite honestly, we just simply handle them. Okay, so so from that standpoint, these are some of the reasons, why governance matters. And as you can kind of get the sense, you imagine if you're someone who has a, let's say you have a meditation practice in the morning. If you do your meditation in the morning, your day probably flows a lot smoother than it would if you didn't do your meditation practice in the morning, right? Now, again, things come up, crises happen, you get pulled in multiple directions, but just imagine if you didn't have the framework or the structure in place, okay? So it's not difficult, quite honestly, to put a governance structure in place. We'll go through what the skills are, and I'll break it down a little bit for you in terms of some of the primary roles associated with governance for your PI. And from that standpoint, once you define them and you've got a nice clear, you've got that clarity of role, then it actually goes into place pretty quickly and pretty easily. So it does not take a lot of time to do. It does, however, require a commitment. And that is where I think most organizations fall down. So when it comes to ensuring that we have that kind of regular cadence that takes place, that when we schedule a review meeting for our processes, that we actually have that review meeting for our processes. When we schedule an assessment of the compliance around our processes, that we actually have that discussion and we look at things. And so it absolutely requires a commitment and dedication to establishing and maintaining this kind of environment, okay? So that's what I want you to be on the lookout for. Once we go through what the different skills are and what some of the measurements of success are for each of the key roles in your governance for your PI, once we look at all of those, I want you to really sit back and think about what is the level of commitment that's in place? And honestly, it's going to begin with you. So what is your level of commitment to ensure that you are, regularly bringing this up to people's attention and ensuring that sessions are taking place, review sessions are taking place, for example, around your processes, okay? So let's go ahead and just dig into this now a little bit deeper, because the governance component and this core skill set that we're going to be walking through is really ultimately responsible for directing and allocating all of the assets, all of the resources of the organization. All right. So often, depending on the scope that you're working with right now, if you're looking across your entire business, this should be a conversation that you're having with your CEO, certainly at the C level, that you should be talking about this, if that is your scope, is the whole organization. All right, so you want to carry this message forward and just really have a thoughtful conversation about it, because based on the efficacy and the quality of the governance structures and the way that the skills are understood and they're put into play, based on that, you absolutely will be directing all of the assets of the organization. Okay, so let's take a little bit of a kind of what it looks like, and then we're going to really peel into it in detail here. So good structure, good governance, and good framework for your skill sets, for your PI. Good governance must include these three things. As a summary, it must include a clearly articulated structure, or strategy rather. So why are we doing process improvement? Why are we committed to continuous improvement as a culture? How does that fit into our strategy, our business strategy? So we really need to get that clearly articulated, and for people to be, really bought into it, all right? And by people here, I mean your leadership. So wherever your senior most leadership is, you want to be spending time to, to get some key players bought into this. So it's clear that it fits into the business strategy. So from that standpoint, that must be in play. And it would be the spot that I would start initially in terms of introducing a new BPM program, or introducing the conversation around process improvement or PI organization. Absolutely, I would start around this conversation of how it fits into the business strategy. The next critical element that must be in place are metrics, or KPIs, either key performance indicators or clearly articulated objectives and goals. Those metrics of performance must be in place. So baselining, where are we today in terms of our process improvement initiatives, our process documentation, our BPM, where are we today? And be honest, right? There may be a little bit of content that's already been captured. There may already be some pockets there, or there may be nothing, and that's fine. The beauty is we're honest with it, and we get a nice baseline, and hey, got lots of progress to go from there, right? So then we want to lay out what our metrics look like over the course of the next 3 to 6 to 12 to 36 months. Just start laying in some metrics there. And know that, of course, it's about progress, not perfection, right? So we drop in those metrics. We've got that clear. Now, with that in place, the engine of governance and the skills around it can really kick in. And this is around the review cadence. This is the third and most critical piece in making sure that this is an engine that continues to evolve and has the sustainability, and that is accountability. So having the accountability piece in play now, what is your review cadence going to be? And I would strongly recommend, if you're starting out early in your program design and in your design of the organization, your PI organization, if you're starting out early, I would put your review cadence on there, even as frequently as every other week, or maybe it's every week for the first month or 2 months, and then you go to every other week, and then you go monthly. Excellent organizations, even very well-established organizations with mature process improvement organizations, with mature BPMs in place, those organizations, they will have a review cadence monthly. That is what I see substantially across the board is that they will get together once a month and they'll measure where are we, what progress are we making, what are we learning, how are our processes changing, are there things that we need to continue to evolve as an organization. And it's not a long meeting by any means. It may be all of an hour once a month. Think about that and the impact, the positive impact that that has on your business, and the very strong message that that sends to all of your employees around where continuous improvement sits in relationship to your culture. So you want to be looking for those three things, must be in place, and the skills bringing that into play. I'm going to go into the structure and the skills that will help to bring this into play and the various roles that people play. So from this standpoint, the key skills that are needed, what we're going to be looking for have to do kind of hierarchically, if you will. We're going to look at some bits around sponsorship, championing, ownership and accountability, and subject matter expertise. So let's drill in to each one of these pieces. Okay, so the pieces, I just want to lay out that particular illustration that I just had there and step through that for you, so you can get a good little handle on this. So as a starting point, and this is typically most organizations, hands down, got it, no worries. This tends to go into play pretty easily at the process level. So at the actual documentation level, the process level, execution level, if you will. At this level, one of the key skill sets that we want to make sure that we have in place is process ownership and process expertise around the work that's being done. And so this is where the knowledge resides, right? So I'm going to drill into each one of these as well, by the way. So as I build this out, I'll give you some spots to take a couple of snapshots, a couple of screenshots. All right, so at the base, where the rubber hits the road, so to speak, if I use that colloquialism, all right, every process, every document must have a process owner and a process expert identified. And I'm a strong advocate for that being a single person, right? One process owner and one process expert. They might be different people there, but it's only one owner and one expert. Now, there may be also many other experts that know how to do the work, but if I were to join your organization today, you might say, hey, Diana, welcome aboard. And you know what? Deborah is our expert in this area. Shadow her for a week. She knows how everything gets done here. And so she would be our expert in that space, okay? So that's at the foundation level. The next level is what I would say is around ownership, and this is going to be groupings, kind of following the departments, the organization structures, right? So from here, what we're looking at are something, if we call it process group owners or groupings of owners of processes. So we want to have some leadership that's starting to take place. And this is where we get some interconnectivity in the content that's being managed. We also might think about a role, it's called process champions, active process champions. I'm going to talk through these as well. Those of you who are also ProMap clients of ours, you'll start to see some familiarity here as well. And so I'll be doing that connection for you also as I've committed in the past. So here we also have leadership, active process champions, leadership in the organization that's actively involved in helping to execute on process and kind of provide the fuel and the engine, if you will. Now, the next layer on this is from a lead process champion title or role. And what this is this is an individual who, or just a small group of individuals who are really helping to affect change. So I want you to also equate this to your change management champions. Okay, so individuals who are strong advocates and champions and helping to architect your program rollout and your program communication and the sustainability from that standpoint, really stitching together across the whole organization. And these are the ones that are going to be often your early adopters as well, all right? Now, in every good structure for your PI, we want to make sure that you have sponsorship, your executive sponsor, okay? And in this role, this is where we can get a very nice, tight link to the business strategy, right? And the vision for the organization. So here, this is the person who says, you know what, from a company standpoint, from a team standpoint, this is absolutely continuous improvement. This is what we are all about. It's part of our culture. Process improvement is where we're focused, and we will follow the lead around our business process management programs, our BPM, and also our process improvement organization. So structurally, organization design, if you will, this is what we're going after, is this kind of structure and architecture around our various skills and capabilities. All right. So now with this, and this is a good spot, if you want to take a quick snapshot of this, go for it, grab a screenshot of it. So from this standpoint, now what we want to get into is what do each one of these do? Okay, so I want to give you a little bit of detail around what each one of these do, some of the KPIs. I'll just give you a sampling of these, and that'll kind of frame it out for you, so you can start to look for getting the right people enrolled in your program and your BPM, and designing the organization related to your process improvement initiative, okay, and your PIO. So first of all, your executive sponsor. So the kinds of skills that you're looking for here is going to be somebody who is a real advocate. You see under the responsibilities the types of things that we're going to be asking this person to do. When you invite somebody to be your sponsor, you want to be able to give them some clear insight into the types of things, the types of activities you're going to be asking for. So skill set wise, we're looking for people who are strong communicators. We're looking for people who are advocates. They're curious. They can help to draw the picture around your BPM specifically and how it ties to the strategic direction of the organization, right? So, this is really what we're going after, is being able to, truly see, how continuous improvement is absolutely critical to our culture. Okay, and around the communications, absolutely. We want somebody to be a very articulate communicator here and be able to simplify content and link it to the vision, to the strategy. All right. So from that standpoint, those are some of the skills that you're looking for. If you're interested in how you would measure success for this individual, obviously, having them actively involved, you're going to be looking for their actions, right? And how they get involved in regular catch-ups with the organization, touching bases, and doing that, right? So these are some examples of KPIs that you might be looking for. Now, the next role is that lead process champion that I had mentioned. So the lead process champion, this is going to be somebody who we want to make sure that they also are a strong communicator. They're also starting to bring in very important project management skills. We want to make sure that they are able to coordinate across the organization and even to liaise with other organizations or other parts of the organization, okay? One of the things that they are primarily responsible for is ensuring that that your PIO has a clearly articulated charter, that your BPM also has a clearly articulated set of outcomes and framework, has all of those pieces in place, okay? So sometimes this type of role, the skill sets associated with this type of role is also very strongly correlated to whomever is leading your process improvement organization, okay? Or whoever is the program champion or the program lead for your business process management program, for your BPM, okay? So that's what this role is looking for, the types of skills that you're looking for here. So very methodical, very organized. That would be an evidence point. Somebody who is very organized, somebody who tends to think in terms of project plans and roadmaps and measurables as well. Okay. All right. So the next one is the lead process champion. Just a little more continuation on that again, real quick, because the KPIs are also very important here, right? So To measure success for your lead champion, one of the things I want to highlight, make sure we pull out here, is that they are responsible for ensuring that all of the staff are trained on how to view or access process information. If it's utilizing ProMap, of course, they would know how to do that. If it's another tool set, SharePoint, for example, or another document repository, process repository, reference materials, they're responsible for ensuring that everyone in the organization knows where to find information and how to provide feedback and input around it. Okay, so it's a critical role that you're looking at here. Okay, the next piece is we're just kind of working our way through our hierarchy here and our skill sets. So the next piece is our process group owners. So remember, these people, the types of skills that typically we're looking for, because one of the challenges here is that this role for your PIO, this role often equates to your department heads, okay? Certainly to the functional leads in your organization. So the head of IT, for example, or the head of finance, but it might even go a little bit lower in terms of your organization chart, more traditional organization chart, down to your accounting supervisor, accounting manager, that type of thing. So you might get more granular there. As a result, the skill sets often are quite varied at that level, right? So what you want to be looking for here for developing strong process group owners, because these people own or are responsible for all of the processes related to their functional area, okay? So here you also want to be looking for people who are more program-oriented, more project-oriented as well, so they do tend to take a holistic picture mindset. So creating the work plan, being able to monitor and ensure content is accurate. Okay, so they take a very methodical approach there as well. You may find that you need to do a little more skills training for this particular level, okay? And so from that standpoint, keeping that in mind, if you are going to dedicate some time to skills training, I would be inclined to focus in on your process group owners and get them a nice set of training pieces, just training on the methodology that I'm referencing here, okay? It's an investment well worthwhile because it pays off in spades even beyond your PIO or your business process management program, your BPM, right? So I would concentrate on this particular group. And then of course, some of the KPIs that you might look for here. All right, and then let's just drop right down again into our active process champions. So these are going to be people actively involved. Here you're going to see a higher level of energy, and potentially even you're going to see even more commitment around your BPM. So these may be your champions, again, a little deeper in the organization. The next piece, this is specific to our ProMap clients. So here we've got our ProMaster. So our ProMaster is effectively, that's our system administrator, right? And so why we include them in the governance conversation and the skills conversation here is that when you start making your connection to the technology, exceptional system administrators will ensure that the technology, whatever it is, ProMap or any other technology for that matter, that technology is actually set up and designed to support the objectives and the strategy of the business. All right, so this falls in that theme that some of you have heard me say before, that systems are supporting characters in what you are out to create in the business. Okay, so your system administrator, or specifically for ProMap, your ProMaster, these are the types of things that you're looking for, the responsibilities and the skill sets that you're looking for in this particular role, okay? As well as the KPIs. Our last piece here to look at in our governance structure is around our process owner and process experts, right? So now we're down at the process level. And go ahead and take a snapshot of this one. I think it's a good one just to review and kind of get clarity for yourself as you're talking within your organization, the distinction between process owner and process expert. And the way that I would capture this is to say that a process owner is responsible for the overall efficacy of the process. Does it make sense? Is it easy to understand and read? how does it fit in the broader context? So they need to have the skill of seeing how pieces of work fit into the broader context of the business across the organization, so to speak, okay? That is in comparison to a process expert. So a process expert is actually responsible for ensuring that the process is well crafted, okay? They really ensure that the process is simple and effective. So they are often your source for identifying where there are inefficiencies in your processes, as well as, if you're interested in exploring further, we'll do in a later session, identifying where there may be automation opportunities. Okay, so this is a world that I'm starting to get more and more involved in as well, and I want to take all of us there in the space of automation and looking for ways that we can take those kind of rote and mundane activities, and let's leverage the technology to do that kind of work for us. Okay, so your process experts are going to be excellent sources for identifying those possibilities and those opportunities as well. Okay. All right. So that kind of brings us to the snapshot here, and we can wrap up for the day. Let's just see if we've got any questions or anything that's popping up here from anyone. And it looks like we're pretty quiet on the front. So what I'd like to do is go ahead, and if you've got any questions later on, please do just go ahead. You can send me an email. You've got my email address, of course. Next week's topic is around process improvement competencies. All right, so here we're going to look at where the organization has competencies and how that can help inform where you want to focus your team and where you take them next. All right, we're also going to be using a tool to identify where there may be any lagging areas in terms of alignment, okay, and how you can close that gap. So squarely living in the world of change and change management, sustainability. I look forward to connecting up with you again next week. Thanks for joining me. And if you've got any questions or anything in the meantime, either email me personally, diana@pendolinogroup.com, or send a note over to info@pendolinogroup.com, or give me a call. All right, I will talk to you very soon. Have a fabulous week, everybody.